Let's talk reactive.
We'll get started. So, hey guys, welcome. I'm pleased to be joined again by our CEO Rong Kai, our ecosystem growth lead Emilijus, and we're also joined by one of our newest additions to the growing reactive team, which is our comms manager Kishan. We're also happy to be able to bring in some guests today. So we've got Tony from the Pangolin Exchange. They're going to be co-sponsors for our upcoming hackathon. We've also got Sameep from Quickswap, who will be on our hackathon judging panel. So welcome, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. It's a good panel today. How's everyone doing?
Good. Am I the only one with speaking rights, or is are the rest able to speak as well?
No, we should have all our speakers added now, I think.
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going? Emilijus here. Sorry. Yeah, great to have you, Sameep and Tony. Thanks for joining us, and looking forward to it, actually, very much.
Hey guys, thanks for having us here. Really excited about this conversation. How's everyone doing here?
Yeah, doing pretty good myself, thanks. All things considered, you know. So just before we get started, I think why don't we just do like a quick round of intros. I'm Dave, so I work on the Reactive Network community and marketing team, involved in a little bit of all sorts. I started a few years ago, back when we were just known as PARSIQ, really. Rong Kai, I'm sure everyone knows you pretty much, but would you like to do a quick intro nonetheless? And maybe you could just do a little overview of what Reactive Network's about as well, just for anyone new who listens back to this.
Definitely. Hi everyone. I'm Rong Kai. It's call me Kai. I'm CEO of PARSIQ, now building Reactive Network, and basically Reactive Network is the world's first. How should I put it in a pretty straightforward way? It's the first reactive smart contract enabled data execution layer. Let's put it that way. I think what we're trying to do is to really close the gap that exists on the space right now, where there's a lot of activities and that you can't do it in a very straightforward manner on-chain. Anyone building on-chain will have to pull it off, index it, adjust it with a offline code, and then the offline code actually tells the on-chain smart contracts what to do. And we are trying to basically close it and build everything on-chain.
Perfect. Thanks, Rong Kai. Emilijus, would you like to go next? Do a little intro.
Yeah, of course. So I guess our community is aware of me quite well by now. But if somebody is somebody else is listening in from Pangolins or Quickswap communities, hey guys, I'm Emilijus. I grow the ecosystem here at Reactive Network. Mainly looking at friendly projects, nurturing partnerships, and just finding new use cases for a project as novel as Reactive Network. And generally, I'm crypto native, like to kind of be in the trenches of various altcoins and learning trading. So the typical Web3 native hobbies, I would say. And that would be it, I guess. I'll pass the mic to our guests.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before I pass to our guests, we've also got Kishan, who is our newest member on the growing Reactive Network team, and he's our comms manager, I think, right? So why don't you just do a little quick intro, Kishan? How's things?
Sure. Hi guys, my name is Kishan and I'm new to the Reactive Network, as well as I'm working with the marketing team for onboarding the developers through the activities like grants program and hackathons and organizing, helping them. So yes, this is me.
Perfect. So you're going to be a busy man the next few months, I think. So yeah, Tony, maybe you want to go next, give a little intro. Maybe you can also just do a little intro to Pangolin and let everyone know what you guys do, what you're all about.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, by the way. Great to be here. So I'm Tony. I'm the head of business development for Pangolin. Pangolin, we were the first DEX to launch on Avalanche. It was originally launched and deployed by Ava Labs. They then created a DAO, which then voted in a community team. And the team has kind of changed hands, but yeah, still run by a community DAO, and we're still building on Avalanche. And we have branched out a little bit cross-chain, but still mostly focused on Avalanche for the time being.
Okay, nice. And finally, last but not least, Sameep, would you like to give a little intro to yourself and Quickswap and what you do there?
Sure. Hey guys, Sameep this side. So I'm like one of the co-founders of Quickswap, and I lead the technical side at Quickswap. So I mean, like this has been a very exciting times, guys. Like I've been with Quickswap for how many years? Like we started in 2020, it's 2024, so almost 4 years now. And in like last 4 years, like the journey is like one hell of a ride. So I'm all excited about having some sort of healthy discussion here with all of you.
Okay, nice. Well, it's great to have you guys on board because we've had quite a few guests on different spaces in the past. It's always nice to get guests on where they've got a product that you've like used extensively yourself. I've used Quickswap and Pangolin quite a bit, so nice to have you guys on board and pretty relevant for what we're going to talk about, I think. So we'll get into some updates on Reactive a little later for anyone who's listening and hoping for that. But I think just first, let's take the opportunity to chat a little with Tony and Sameep first, since we're lucky enough to have them here. I think it would be good to chat a little bit about DEXs and the relationship with Reactive, what we can really do to improve that landscape, and also about the hackathon itself. Maybe we can start with you, Sameep. What would you say are the main priorities for Quickswap right now? Is there anything you guys are working on big at the moment? Anything people should be looking out for?
I mean, there are a lot of things, at which we are looking at Quickswap, and the most important thing is the user experience, right? Like, I personally think, even after 4 years and I mean, like 5-6 years since the DeFi has, started coming up. I mean, the overall user experience is still not as good as compared to any, centralized exchange out there, or any centralized trading platforms, or any like centralized financial applications, right? Like, we are still very much into like how to manage wallets, how to manage seed phrases. I mean, even if you look at the overall AMM technology, it's not at par with a limit order book technology. I mean, in limit order books, you can do a lot of HFT tradings, like high frequency trading. I mean, it's again very user friendly to use. When it comes to AMMs, like especially during high volatile time, or when the blockchain is basically swamped up with transactions, not only like a DEX transaction, but also, let's say, a gaming transactions. I was just looking at Polygon Scan, and right now the Polygon Scan is like swamped up with transactions, and those transactions are Lens protocol, Galaxy Space Station protocol, like different type of games, NFT protocols. So basically, all these transactions takes up a lot of block space, which basically results in a bad user experience for other applications, right? So at Quickswap, like, we are trying to figure out what we need to do next in order to fix all those things, like how to build a better DEX. I'm not saying AMM, a better DEX, because I mean, DEX, we have generalized it. I mean, like it has become a synonym. DEX means an AMM, but that's not true. Like, AMM was the first technology which enabled a decentralized exchange, because order books could not be built at that time, right? We did not have like enough technology or enough scalability to be able to build an order book on top of a chain, right? So at Quickswap, like, we are figuring out, we are still researching like what should be the next sort of decentralized exchange. Like, is it has to be a AMM? If AMM, like what sort of AMM? If not AMM, then what's next? Is it going to be a CLOB, or is it going to be something else, right? So apart from that, like, we are also focusing on doing a lot of partnerships, building new products, which you'll see coming up maybe in next few weeks, coming weeks. We recently launched a new perps protocol on zkVM, and we're going to launch it on Menta as well. We launched a perps protocol on POS. So a lot of exciting stuff happening at Quickswap these days. Keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, absolutely, we will do. I wish we'd had you on for our last town hall, because we were discussing the user experience in general quite in depth, and I think it's it's something we talked about a little bit, the advantages and disadvantages to obviously like the DeFi approach in general. And like you say, it's going to be very difficult to approach the user experience in terms of pure convenience that a centralized exchange can manage. But there's obviously huge advantages and a huge importance to DeFi and a DEX in general as well. What would you guys say are the main blockers in terms of that user experience that you're aware of when building a DEX? What's the main issues your users experience?
You're asking me?
Yeah, well, I mean, either you or Tony, I think you guys are both pretty well qualified to answer. So just in general, what are the main improvements you think can be made for DEXs to kind of close that gap?
I mean, I think one of the main improvements, which is not only up to DEX, but up to the entire industry, is like the wallet experience, right? I mean, like right now, I'm really sorry, guys. So right now, the wallet experience is pretty bad, right? I mean, like for a non-native crypto user, I would say, right? As a non-native crypto user, like if I want to start using like any application, not the DeFi application, let's say like even a gaming application, I'll have to set up a wallet, right? And especially in case of DeFi applications, this becomes more important because I'll be managing funds, right? Which is actual real money. I'm not playing some game, right? So what I'm saying is like wallet is one of the biggest pain point that we have seen from the users, not only like native crypto users, but non-native crypto users. Like for example, I have a lot of friends which are non-Web3 friends, right? I mean, like I have very few friends which are in Web3, right? So when I go to them and I ask them to come to Web3 and I like basically tell them the process that you'll have to set up a wallet, create a wallet, using that particular, and in that particular wallet, you have to, ensure, like there are a few things which you have to ensure. The first thing, that you do not share your seed phrase with anyone. Otherwise, your funds are gone, your life savings are gone. You have to ensure that your private key is not exposed. You have to ensure that your wallet is not hacked, right? And if you are keeping a good amount of money into it, you have to ensure that you have a cold wallet. Now with cold wallet, like it has its own complexity, right, for non-native crypto users, right? So when you ask these, when you tell these things to a newbie, someone like who is new into crypto, I mean, like he's already out, like he might come into the DeFi or any blockchain protocol just to play around, but he's not going to put his life savings into it. So I think that's one of the major problems. And a lot of I see like a lot of new wallets coming up and a lot of smart contract wallets coming up, which is already solving this problem. But unfortunately, like none of them has received so much of traction so far. So that's one of the major issues that we see coming from our users. So we try to integrate a lot of wallets in order to figure out like which one works best. But unfortunately, like for non-crypto users, like we haven't been able to figure out like what works best. Now the second thing is, when it comes to the non-native crypto users, I mean, to use a DEX, you need a crypto token, right? You cannot use fiat currency, right? That's again like one of the blockers. Like a good on-ramp service, right? A kind of service which is an on-ramp service behind the scene, but for users it should be like, I'm converting my US dollar to Bitcoin, and it should be seamless the way you do it on a centralized exchange, right? You don't worry about on ramps or off ramps or anything like that. So that is something which we also not coming. This is not coming from our users, by the way, because this is, I mean, our users are mostly crypto native. They already understand that they'll have to get USDC, USDT in order to buy, let's say, Quick token or let's say ETH on Quickswap, right? They know that they won't be able to do it with the US dollar or any other fiat currency, right? But if we are able to fix this, where user comes and in the drop down, instead of having a crypto tokens, we have another section for fiat currency. I choose US dollar, I choose euro, and using US dollar or euro within one single seamless transaction, I'm able to buy Bitcoin on crypto on any decentralized exchange, right? So that's I think like if we are able to achieve these two things, this will definitely result in like at least 10x adoption from the outside world, not from the non-native crypto users. Because the next goal of Quickswap is not to attract like crypto users. We're already attracting crypto users, but we want to attract non-crypto users. Like that's how you bring like next 100 million users into the domain, right? By attracting non-native crypto users.
Yeah, that's a good point, because obviously I guess we're trying to figure out how to integrate those people who've never made it far enough to become a Quickswap user in the first place. So it's difficult
Those
to get.
are the major points, from the user perspective. Like there are other issues which we are tackling, but that's basically behind the scenes. Like user I mean, like that is something which user never sees, like overall technology being used, like how it works and all those stuff. So from the user perspective, like we think like these are the two major issues.
Yeah, it's crazy how well I resonate with this, because on our last town hall, I was referring to the same issue, is that everybody who wants to onboard the next billion users, they don't think like them, and for us as natives, some of those things are we are just used to it. But for those who are new, even if the guys we talk about are tech savvy, they're comfortable with computers, but Web3 is still such a distant experience from everything else that you have to get used to it. And yeah, I completely agree with what you said, Sameep.
Yeah, I mean, working on like the community side myself, I get a lot of people coming to me with like wallet exploits, being subject to phishing attacks or wallet drainers, etc. It happens all the time. I don't know many people personally who have not suffered at some point from some kind of exploit or some kind of loss. I have myself, years ago now, fortunately, not too badly, but it's very common. So it does make it a difficult sell. How about you, Tony? What's your experience for Pangolin? Are you mostly seeing the same kind of issues, would you say? Or can you see any other blockers that need addressing?
Yeah, I think the main thing that we're focusing on is like something that Sameep mentioned, is what's the next evolution of a DEX? Are we sticking with AMMs? Are we going to clubs? Are we making something completely new? Because if you're using an AMM right now and you went from V2 style Uniswap to like V3 concentrated liquidity, you know how much of a hassle that can be for community members, right? To use concentrated liquidity, and it's got a bit of a steep learning curve. Thankfully, there's some protocols that like help you manage it and all that stuff, but we really shouldn't have to do all that, right? We should make providing liquidity, or however we're going to do it, a lot easier for everybody, crypto natives, non-crypto natives. There's guys that are very well versed in crypto but are terrified to use concentrated liquidity and to put liquidity in there. So I very clearly see that we need to solve that issue and kind of come up with something. So me and my team have been, while we're working on a new concentrated liquidity AMM, we're thinking about like what are the next steps, like how can we evolve this? Maybe we got to make something completely new. Because yeah, concentrated liquidity order book decks, like those are cool. Like I like clubs and stuff. We have a few good ones out there, but you still have to mess around getting over to there for Avalanche. At least they're on a subnet or an Avalanche layer 1, and it's not super seamless and easy, So I still think there's another evolution of dexes that just hasn't come out yet that we gotta build, basically. Not sure what it'll be like or what it is, but we gotta build it.
I 100% agree with you on
I think
that, Tony. 100%.
Yeah, I think both Tony and Sameep, both of you really point out, I think, a really key problem in this space right now. And I think especially Sameep, you were saying that, like, say, compared to 4 years ago, the upfront experience of the user on the DEX hasn't changed that much. You still, I think you rightfully pointed out, like, for example, the wallet interaction. Takes a lot of clicks. You need to worry about hacks. You need to worry about a lot of things. And Tony, you actually pointed out that, for example, the services offered hasn't gone too far beyond what was initially conceived. Version 2 and version 3, you seem to be stuck around those two. I think one of the things that we spotted on our end when we were basically building Reactive Network is also this. We knew this was a gap for developers. We wanted to know more about how it is like for developers in this space. And one of the key things that was sort of jarring to us is basically that space between off-chain tech architecture. We know like not everything can be put on Web3, that there is an architectural limitation to it. And every DEX, even NFT projects, they know and they acknowledge that, and basically the whole architecture behind it is structured that way. And we wanted to ask, like, which is the part that actually caused a lot of friction. And one of the parts is really the parts where off-chain tries to talk to on-chain. And specifically, what we asked, how is it like at the smart contract level? And we felt that actually at the smart contract level, there's some form of right now it's not very smart, isn't it? When you try to put things on layer 1, layer 2s, there's only so much. There's a certain limit at which you can code, because tech architecture wise, you can't actually be reactive to events on chain. So you guys do it off chain, and that's something that we hope that we can unlock for DEXs going forward. Specifically, can developers working on the DEX start to build something that's more advanced, more interactive, and more responsive to events that's happening across not just one chain, but any chain that your DEX is deployed on? And I think that that's something that's really exciting for us as well.
Yeah, I think like the draws of a centralized exchange and the convenience of those off-chain processes that can make things, so smooth and easy, can be quite tempting sometimes, and we see things trend towards centralized exchanges occasionally, and then something like FTX or any number of black swan events we've had happen, and we're reminded of the importance of DEXs, I think, and the importance of DeFi, and all of a sudden we're reminded why it's important to have such a strong DeFi infrastructure as well. I think in terms of like what we can do at Reactive to help make things smoother and help sort of simplify that user experience, one of the things we've discussed before is like helping to remove some of the steps when it comes to making token swaps and that kind of thing. We've talked about the one-step swap, where we remove certain steps in terms of token authorizations, etc. Emilijus, you're pretty familiar with this. Would you like to sort of introduce the concept here? Do you think this is something that's going to be important in the future when it comes to the DEX user experience?
Yeah, so obviously not to make it sound too shilly or a pitching session out of this, but for Reactive Network, obviously, so again, going back to the roots of Reactive Network, I mean, Reactive is like glue to like two or more, for that matter, completely unrelated contracts, and Reactive Network makes them actually talk to each other. It makes them cooperate. So anything smart contract based can use that if there's a use case. But out of the gates, we realize that it's going to be mostly DeFi. Why? Because DeFi is based on smart contracts, and there's not too much else besides that. So when you think about DeFi, what's the first subcategory of projects you're naturally going to think about? I'm pretty sure it's going to be DEXs, and that's why for us, even in the ideation phase, it was really important to talk to different DEXs and kind of find out about the challenges they're facing, even the UX challenges or developer experience related challenges, and that's why I really appreciate both Sameep and Tony kind of talking to us in our early days, and actually it helped to shape the Reactive Network and tailor some of the features it's going to have. But if we talk about some of the use cases to improve UX on decentralized exchanges, yeah, we can talk about this one-step swap or one-step anything actually, because on a DEX you usually can actually even stake or provide liquidity. Most of those things requires an approval. So as a step to improve UX, we kind of want to eliminate that without making approvals disappear in the back end. It's just that on the front end for the user, the approval will not be mandatory to accomplish in two different transactions. But if we go beyond that, we can also talk about something else. For example, trailing stop orders. I don't think there's a V2 or even V3 based exchange that has purely on-chain based trailing stops. And that's really important because for a trader, even if you don't actively day trade, you kind of want to ride your profits, right? And if you see that there's a bull market and you want to ride a trend, but once I don't know, there's a drawdown in the market, of 5%, you want to just get out, and you don't want to, I don't know, look at your trading view 5 times in 5 minutes to catch that moment. So you just, without even having to go on a centralized exchange, you go to, let's say, Quickswap or Pangolin, input, the threshold that you kind of want to use as your trailing stop, and be done with it, and just, go touch some grass. So that's one thing that I do feel like has a lot of room for adoption. And, we can think about more things, even, automated rebalancing of LP positions, if we talk about concentrated liquidity dexes, anything really that, is based on on-chain events, can be a suitable topic for us to discuss and see if it makes sense to implement. But, not to make this answer too long, I feel like those are kind of a good examples of where Reactive helps in some of those challenges. But again, it actually comes down to the feedback of the users, if they want that or not. And so far, from what we have discussed with different, both developers and their users, those are the use cases that kind of resonated the most.
Yeah, well, I think it's trying to just close that gap again with centralized exchanges and offer some of the functionality while still maintaining what's essential in DeFi as well, and not compromising decentralization. I'd like to just ask about security as well. Do you think there's any concern when it comes to security in terms of removing these processes, token signatures, and that kind of thing? Would that be of any concern? Open question really to either Emilijus or Sameep or Tony.
Yeah, I feel like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Sameep.
No, can you repeat that? Sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, so we were talking about the concept of using Reactive basically to remove some of the steps when it comes to user experience on a DEX. So one example was the one-step swap. So basically removing or rather than removing, automating the process of like a token authorization. I'm asking, would there be any concern when it comes to security as far as removing that step goes, or do you think that's not an issue really?
I mean, like that depends, right? I mean, like when you talk about security, like what security aspects are there, like in making those integrations. So like whenever we make any integration, like not just Reactive, like any integrations out there, and especially like if it's a cross-chain integration, we look at all the bridges, like all the cross-chain contracts that's being used, or if oracles are being used, like we look into it. And if everything sounds good, like we use it. Like sometimes, like see, in current technical paradigm of blockchain, like overall, like if you want to achieve a cross-chain stuff, or if you want to better the user experience across multiple chains or even within the chain, like at some level, like you'll have to compromise with the decentralization. I mean, it's improving, with zk rollups coming up, optimistic rollups coming up, like different type of zk technology, snark, like you can do a lot of things, which is like completely decentralized plus scalable, but that's still like, I think, like 5-6 months far from now. So if you want to do it today, I mean, we are definitely like concerned about security when it comes to user funds, but if we can be rest assured that yeah, it works well, the contracts are audited, the technology is audited, and like in 99.9% cases, like it will work as intended, then like we are mostly fine with it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, we've seen even when it comes to centralized exchanges, there's no such thing as absolute security.
Exactly. So I mean, there is no absolute security. It's a software, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it's just a case of finding a good balance there, really, between like user utility and security. I think it's probably a good time to just chat a little bit about the hackathon as well. So obviously we've mentioned that we've got our own plans to host hackathon. That's going to be starting on September 9th. That will be taking place on Dora Hacks. I'll leave a little info in the comments just for anyone who's interested in taking part afterwards. You can find the links, our own hackathon page and that sort of thing. I'd mentioned already we're lucky enough to have Pangolin co-sponsoring, and we're also really happy to get Sameep on board on our judging panel. We've got a pretty good judging panel shaping up so far. So this is probably a good chance to just chat a little about hackathon specifically. We've got Kishan here, who has played a big part in organising our hackathon. Kishan, would you like to maybe just give everyone an overview of the hackathon and the tracks we've set for people and what we're hoping to get from it.
Yeah, sure. So basically, we are going to have a prize pool of $50,000, and there are 4 tracks for now, and many more coming with the upcoming announcements. So out of the 4, the first one is like open category, where like we are looking for the projects who can use the reactive smart contracts to build the DApps, and how they can innovate in this space. So yes. And the second one is magic approval service, where we are looking for the projects who can enhance the user interactions in DeFi by creating the solutions that can reduce the multiple token approval steps, which we discussed recently. Then we also have the template deployer applications, where the participants can develop user-friendly templates which can be reused for other purposes as well, and so it is not required to have the extensive coding every time. And lastly, we have the no code track, where like we empower that enthusiast who wants to develop or have some good ideas. They can pitch that ideas to us, see how impactful the use case is and what is the business logic behind it. And yes, these are the 4 tracks for now, and we are also going to announce more. So stay tuned on Telegram as well as on Discord to get the updates on the upcoming tracks as well. Also, we have the Booster Grants program, where we are looking for the projects who are serious about building a startup around this case. So irrespective of winning this hackathon, like anybody can apply for this grants program. And basically they need to have a minimum viable product for this. And we need their commitment for the contributing their time, and we are ready to provide our resources to help them to create the startup. And for that, we are going to give more details about the grants program in the closing ceremony of the hackathon. So yes, stay tuned.
Okay, nice. Yeah, stay tuned. And so, as I mentioned, we're going to have Pangolin and Quickswap on board as well, which is really nice. So, have you guys been involved in hackathons before? What experience have you guys had, like as participants or as judges, or have you guys held any hackathons yourselves before?
For Pangolin, actually, we haven't. We just kind of took over the protocol in February, so we haven't had the chance to participate or host any hackathons. So for us and the new team, this will be a first, which is exciting that it's the Reactive Hackathon. So we're looking forward to it.
Oh, I think we lost Sameep there. He should be back.
Yeah, I think while we're waiting for Sameep as well, I think we can make use of this opportunity. I would like to ask Tommy as well. I think being the very first hackathon for Pangolin well, since your team took over in February, this will be very exciting. I think of course hackathons is where developers come in and try to you give them some bounties or some deadlines, some problems, and they come in trying to see what sort of creative solutions are coming in. Is there anything in particular that Pangolin would be excited to find out?
You said, is there anything Pangolin would be excited to what? I missed that last part.
To basically find out through the hackathon.
Yeah, so we're basically kind of looking at specific features. Some are similar to some Uniswap v4 hooks, some are different, things that maybe a centralized exchange would have. And for our targeted tracks that we talked about with the Reactive team, it's basically trying to separate us from the pack. And one of the big things we're excited about for Reactive is we're going to be keeping our V2 AMM open and while simultaneously having a V3 and whatnot. And a lot of projects have asked us to keep updating our V2. So, with Reactive, we have the ability to push those same or similar features on our V2 and our V3, just because some people prefer V2, some people prefer V3. So it's a very unique kind of offer for us. And yeah, we're excited to build out a few things and try some things at the hackathon.
Yeah, and just would like to add that, for us, that's also a huge value add, because for Reactive Network, that means, proof of concept use cases that are applicable in real life. So it's in my opinion, the relationship we currently have with Pangolin is one of those rare, mutually synergistic opportunities where I know, like, for those of you who are not in Web3, usually you get the word synergies, thrown around everywhere. And sometimes people don't really have any tangible synergies actually, but still like to talk about them, on social media, or even announce something as vague as collaborations, But in this case, it's mutual beneficial relationship that we're really excited to be nurturing. So I'm really excited for the hackathon and for the results, and I really hope that the team at Pangolin will be happy with the proof of concept code they will be getting out of this. So it sounds like a win-win actually, just because for Pangolin it's a new use case, it's a new feature that separates them from the pack without having to spend the development time of their internal dev team. And for us, that's obviously a massive help in terms of shaping the network further and positioning ourselves in the market. So really excited about this.
Yeah, well, I think that's really with the stage we're at the moment, is we're like figuring out where the tech we're developing can really add value when it comes to different areas of Web3. And I mean, DEXs, it's hard to get more important than that, really. So if you can figure out a value add for DEXs, that's pretty huge. So yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully something useful comes out of it. Sameep, is there sort of any areas you'd like to see hackers focus on in particular? Anything you'd like to see come out of this?
My answer is basically same as Tony. I mean, like mostly same as Tony. So we are also going to launch our, the new version of AMM very soon. Very soon, in next few weeks, right? So we would like to see like hackers, developers coming up to figure out, what sort of applications can be built on top of that, like what sort of plugins can be built for that. Like newer sort of plugins, some interesting plugins, not a very basic plugins, because we'll already be having some basic plugins like dynamic fees and whatnot. Like the team is already working on like 5-6 different plugins, which will cover 90% of the 99% of the functionality. But something which is innovative in nature, maybe use some kind of ZK technology to achieve what has not been able to achieve, like some sort of, if they are able to enable HFT tradings using hooks. So, some innovative ideas around, the platform that is coming up, some innovative product integrations on top of existing Quickswap stack. Like Quickswap stack is it's not just a swap platform. Like we do have a Dragon's Layer, we do have a perpetual platform. We have like multiple perpetual models, right? Like we have an order book model, then we have an AMM style perpetual model as well, right? So if hackers can build something on top of that, and a bonus point, like if they can use Reactive Network to build some additional functionality, like that would be amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, you never know. Hopefully, we might even see ideas that no one's ever even thought of. That's sometimes you can never predict what's going to come out of it. So, should be interesting, I think.
Or if they can innovatively integrate a on-ramp service to solve the problem, which I was like earlier mentioning. We have a crypto section, we'll have a, let's say, a fiat section, and users should be able to convert tokens to fiat to tokens in single transaction. If somebody can achieve that, like that would be massive.
Yeah, absolutely, without doubt. This is our first kind of dedicated hackathon as well, I think. Well, certainly for Reactive Network, we've done sort of more limited in-person events before in PARSIQ. Emilijus, you've been to a few in-person hackathons before, I think. What's your experience been like at those? I think were you at the ETH Denver one?
Yeah. One of them was at ETH Denver, and I have to say that a hackathon, especially a successful one, is not easy to host, to organize, and it takes a lot of prep work for all of this to become a success. Like full disclosure, I've been myself looking into what makes a hackathon successful, and usually the answer is it has to be carefully pre-planned. So obviously, especially for new tech such as Reactive Network, it's very important to educate the community of developers first, so they have a more or less the general idea of what the network can do, or what are the use cases, what's the purpose of it, what problem it solves. Because frankly speaking, we have an abundance of protocols in the space that can hardly explain what problems are they solving. So we kind of have to avoid this. And once you educate, then there's a much higher chance of some tangible results being produced. So in Denver, for example, I believe there was a problem of not enough time being spent for educating the public. So some of the entries we had on the PARSIQ side, the entry would just be an idea, like there was no code touched or something. There was just like a pitch of an idea of what could be built using something like PARSIQ at that time. And in this time we kind of want to avoid that. We're trying to do a great job in terms of education. Like if you go to dev.reactive.network, there's a whole educational hub where you can read up on some of the main concepts and use cases. Guys, the DevRel team are constantly working on the docs themselves, trying to make the whole onboarding flow as easy as possible, trying to make Reactive be as clear as possible, even knowing how kind of novel it is, even though it's still Solidity-based contracts. So on one side, it's typical network, so to say, but on the other hand, it's very unique, and nothing quite like it has been deployed in this space. So we're trying to balance out, between making things pretty clear, but also sophisticated enough so that people can get the right idea and not mix Reactive Network with some other, projects in the space like cross-chain messaging or just typical layer ones. But I would say short answer is that for a hackathon to be successful, a lot of planning has to go into it, a lot of educational work, and it's just if people expect to mash around a hackathon in a week and expect some good result, that's probably going to be a disappointment. And in all honesty, the previous one we had in Denver was quite underwhelming, just because the devs were too, I would say, separated. They didn't have the time to really look into the tech. There's a lot of distractions at the venue itself, and yeah, that's what why this time we're going with an online hackathon, leaving plenty of time for planning, for execution, for judging, and all those things. So yeah, I know that's a long answer, but I hope that gives a good overview.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, man. Yeah, like you say, we're allowing 8 weeks this time, so that's a significant amount of time, hopefully, to be able to achieve some kind of more complex and hopefully valuable use cases. And props to Konstantin and Daniil for the work they've done on the docs, because the docs have shaped up really well now. So hopefully that'll make things really clear for any developers building on Reactive what they can do. And to Kishan as well for all the work he's done on the education campaign we've been working on. So we're really looking forward to the hackathon. Should be very interesting to see the ideas and use cases that come out of it. And definitely super happy to have people from really awesome projects like Pangolin and Quickswap involved, genuinely. Just before we finish, we've got some community questions I've gotten in that I'd like to tackle. And we've got the CEO Rong Kai here as well, so I would be not very popular in community, I think, if I didn't take the chance to maybe try and probe Rong Kai for a little update. Is there any chance we could maybe get a little update on what's new with Reactive, or what are we working on at the moment? What should people be looking out for next, besides obviously the hackathon?
Of course. So this is a very good question. I know this. We have two guests here with us, but do let me get through this a little bit quickly. So right now, there's probably two things that I can share a little bit with you guys. I think one of the things is basically in terms of on the technical front, we are actually sort of on schedule. Right now, we are integrating with some of the external partners. Some of them are basically general messaging, and from there, we actually gain access to multiple different blockchains. There's basically what I mentioned earlier to some of the community members when I was saying that right now we are many to one, in a sense that many blockchains data come in through us and then we can react on one. We want to get to a stage where we can do many to many, and that's basically the stage we are at right now. And once we can do that and it's tested and is stable on basically the blockchain architecture, then essentially we're almost ready to launch. I wouldn't call this the last step yet because this is a huge step. There's a lot of things in between, but this is stage where we are right now in terms of development, in terms of ecosystems, in terms of the other side of things where we go towards launch. We're working on tokenomics. I think that's what everyone are excited about. We're working on basically ecosystem building. We're working on partnerships, and that's also why it is extremely important today for us to have Quickswap's Sameep and Pangolin's Tony with us today, because they are very important partners for us, not just for the hackathon, but really, I think really in terms of exploring how we can break through this technological bottleneck on-chain right now. Everyone's talking about the same things. Everyone's talking about bringing in the next billion users, and how do we do that? And it goes down to a lot of things, from both product to user experience to essentially bringing value to someone who wouldn't look at blockchain otherwise. And I would say that even before we get our grandmas to be able to use blockchain, and that's where like it has become mainstream, mass adoption. But even before we reach that stage, I would say that let's get typically any relatively tech savvy person on the street to even us, and ideally they might not even realize they're interacting with sort of like a Web3 protocol, Web3 interface. They know they're just doing things that they usually do on a day-to-day basis. They click this, they click that, and that's it, and things happen. And that's something that increasingly are extremely important in this space right now. And it's very exciting that we are finding ourselves at the heart of it, with different projects looking at it exactly from the same angle as well.
Yeah, and just a teaser, I guess, to all those who are just sticking with us. We're also working on an interesting feature with Quickswap. It's not going to be front-facing, but it's going to be a feature that kind of improves the existing internal processes behind the hood. And yeah, I just want to say that the code has been already written. We're actually testing it in our internal environment, and once we're comfortable, Sameep will propose a call and show you something. So yeah, thanks
Sure.
for waiting out.
All right, nice. Thanks, guys. Yeah, sounds like we're getting into the end game now, so that's exciting. Yeah, I don't even know all the details about that use case, so I'll be interested to find out more myself. Yeah, like I said, we've got a little few community questions, so we'll just get through those quickly if we can. So, besides Web3 conferences and hackathons, what other avenues are there to get Reactive in front of devs? That's a interesting one, because that's kind of the most important question. That's $1 million question. Rong Kai or Emilijus, or anyone really, would you like to take that? What do you think is the most important avenues for getting your product in front of the developers who actually need to build on it?
I guess my idea is that. Oh, go ahead, Rong Kai. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Emilijus, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta admit the fact that right now the space is full of different infrastructure solutions for developers, so their attention is really scattered. And I feel like this is coming because for the past few years, VCs have been mostly deploying their capital to infrastructure, especially in the bear market, because that was, that was seen as the safe haven for VCs, and that's why I do believe only now we're starting to see more innovation in DeFi, because that has kind of changed. But the abundance of infra solutions is really vast nowadays. So getting developer attention is a challenge, but I do feel like if you keep innovating and showing your value prop, if you can clearly explain to developers what problem you're solving, and if that problem is actually indeed a problem in the space, the end result will snowball from having 1, 2, 3 projects on board to getting mass adoption. And I would say the avenues, because that was your question, Dave. Obviously, events, workshops, social exposure, docs, I would say, having proper docs is super important. There's no magic button here, really. It's just doing the right things, one small step at a time, and doing them consistently. And with that, if that's done properly, the end result will kind of come to top, and more developers will start talking about that, because I honestly believe that word of mouth and network effects are what makes or breaks an infra solution.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Thanks so much.
Oh, sorry, go.
I think, yeah, no worries. I was just going to add to what Emilijus was saying. I think he basically covered, specifically for us. But I think if you put it broader to any Web3 projects, DEXs, for example, lending protocols, I think a lot of it goes down to there's 2 parts. One is within your own vertical, you're competing. So what Emilijus covered is really where we are. So there's sort of infrastructure project in terms of data. We're competing with so many others who doing that, and it's the same for DEXs as well. They're competing for attention, competing within different blockchains, and so on. And then it goes down to really within that vertical, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you convince your target audience that, hey, actually you probably make a lot more sense and you resonate with them in terms of offering value to their lives in different manners. I think the other half of it is actually growing the pie. And right now, I think if you go to any conferences, you talk to any projects, we sort of there were talks of sort of like the bull market being here in Q1 this year, and then it sort of splattered out, and there's just a lot of volatility. And I think not looking at the numbers on the screen, you look at the number of users and you get a feel of actual number of users. It seems to have stagnated for a while, and that's the pie that everyone needs to grow. I think perhaps Tony and Sameep have some thoughts on this as well. But the whole idea, at least to me, is that I think as a whole industry, we need to strive towards not just making it easier for people to come in, but actually making it desirable for them to come in. Like, why should they? What should they try? Why should they do this? Back then, it was the increasing basically prices of everything that sort of attracted people to come in. Test this out. Oh, you're making a lot of money on Bitcoin. I just want to try this as well. Now I think the industry has reached a certain maturity where we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to actually provide the right value to people on the street? And then they say, hey, actually, it is desirable for me to try this out. Not sure if Tony and some you guys have some thoughts as well. Maybe Sunny, you have some thoughts first.
Tony, Sameep, did you want to add anything to that?
Hey, sorry, it cut out there. What was the question?
No worries. So I was just basically saying that I think one of the challenges for the whole industry is actually not just within your vertical, for example, as a DEX, but as a whole of industry, you want to bring in the men on the street, not just make it easier for them to interact with us, but actually desirable to interact with us. So I think, what do you think as a whole industry that we should probably do in terms of getting basically new people from the street to actually look at us as an industry and interact with us?
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, bring in the normies. Yeah, a lot of people, at least on Avalanche, have been talking about the next killer DApp, like what's going to bring people on. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure, but one area that I've been interested in is like SocialFi, and that being able to bring people in. That's done pretty good on Avalanche. Not sure how that's doing on other networks, but something where the users basically want to use it. It's a nice app, like something that's kind of addictive, maybe like TikTok, but they don't really even realize it's crypto in the background, you know? I think that's how we get on the most people, the average guy on the street. They got to be using something, they got to want to use it, and not realize that it's crypto, you know, initially at least. They can figure that out later on, but it has to be pretty seamless. The user interface has to be, you know, absolutely killer, has to be smooth. And, you know, if it requires a wallet with transactions and stuff like that that the user has to deal with, maybe, you know, finding ways to get around that to make it seem like you're not doing any of that. So what that next killer DApp is to bring on all these users, not 100% sure, but I think gaming has a good chance. SocialFi, there's definitely interest in those two areas to bring on more mainstream people that aren't going to be wanting to trade crypto and whatnot, at least not realizing they are. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the lessons we've learned from Web3 gaming as well, is it's been maybe too like overtly crypto with too much of a kind of really heavy focus on crypto rather than just making a really good game and then integrating aspects of that in the background, which I think would be, you know, much more likely to actually bring kind of normies on board. So let's see, what's the next question? We did have a couple of questions for Pangolin and Quickswap actually, but I think we've kind of tackled one of them already, which was have you participated in hackathons before, either as a judge or hacker? So what was it like? What did you gain from it? I know, Tony, that you've already answered this, but Sameep, maybe we could get your view on this. Have you been involved in any hackathons before?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been involved in like few hackathons before, both as a participant, sponsor, guest, judge, right? And participating in hackathons is always a good thing. I mean, you have to just figure out whether that particular hackathon is for you or not. Like whether, the domain that you want to work on, the technologies that you want to use, whether that particular hackathon endorses that or not. But like participating in hackathon as a participant, especially, is a very good deal, because when you work in an hackathon, it's like some hackathons are like 72 hours hackathons, some hackathons are like few weeks hackathons. You get to work on a product on a very fast track mode, right? I mean, like you do not have months, you do not have years to finish the task. You just have either few days or few weeks, right? So you are basically working in your like ultra light speed mode, right? And that's when like you learn a lot of things about, you know, the thing that you're working on, a lot of new technologies, how to make them work together, how integration works. And it's not just that. I mean, like you meet new people as well, like who are participating in the hackathons, similar minds, like better technologists, better, I would say, business people out there. You get to see a lot of new ideas that are coming up in the industry, like what others are thinking, what new projects are being built upon. You know, is there a next killer idea? Because, you know, like some of the killer ideas like that comes from hackathons. I mean, as far as I know, like Matic came from one of the workshops, 1inch came from one of the workshops. I think even Uniswap came from one of the workshops. Even the Quickswap's idea came from one of the workshops or like hackathon, right? So hackathons like basically gives you like the next killer apps, right? So you should definitely participate in hackathons, even if not as a participant, just as a viewer, just as a listener, just as a guest, to see like what new age people are building up, because that is like, because one of the apps, you know, out of those hackathons will become the next killer app. You never know that, right? So it's always good to participate in a hackathon.
Yeah, that's a great point, really. It's a uniquely kind of DeFi thing as well, to outsource development in that kind of way. But there's some massively important developments have come from it. So yeah, that's a good point. And like you say, I think maybe the can of Red Bull is an essential piece of kit as well for that. So we're coming up to the hour. I'll just take one more question and then we'll finish things off. We've got a few more questions, but anyone who hasn't had their questions answered, we'll tackle them next time. We'll add them to the list. And next one's going to be probably just Reactive exclusive, I think. So we'll get through everything then. So when will we hear about React tokenomics? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but hopefully we'll be getting some news out maybe on the next town hall. We'll see. No promises, but that's the aim at the moment. But by the time we hold the next town hall, you might know more. So fingers crossed. So thanks a lot for joining us, guys. I think we're unfortunately out of time, but I think it's been a really good discussion. It's been a pleasure to have you guys joining us, Tony and Sameep. Thanks a lot. Any last thoughts before we finish? Is there any upcoming news or anything you want to share from Pangolin or Quickswap?
Just keep an
I'll
eye.
just say,
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
all right. I'll just say keep an eye on the space, watch the hackathon, and see what cool stuff we develop out of it.
I was about to say that as well. There are a lot of like new things which are coming up, but since we haven't like publicly announced it, so I'm not sure like if I can say it right now, because I mean like everything at Quickswap goes through a governance process. So just keep an eye out like on our Twitter channel, on our Discord channel, on Telegram channel. There are a lot of new stuff coming up. I mean like really exciting stuff, I can tell you guys, like in next few weeks, right? Like starting from next week. So just keep an eye out, and you'll see a lot of new things coming up.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I will definitely be checking in with you guys. I know we'll hear a lot more from both Pangolin and Quickswap. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us. And thanks, Rong Kai, Emilijus, Kishan. We'll see you all next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us here.
It was a pleasure, guys. Goodbye.
Thank you. See ya.
Thank you, everyone. See you.